Good afternoon. Here we are in sunny Southern California on a Tuesday afternoon, and I've been asked a question about when do you report an injury if you get hurt on the job. In California, there's a law that says you must provide notice to the employer within 30 days of the date of your injury. That's when you should notify the employer, but I would encourage you to do it sooner rather than later. By this I mean that if you know that you're injured and it's on the job, go to your supervisor or your human resources manager and let them know right away that you've got an injury. Now, what is supposed to happen after that is they're supposed to give you a claim form. This is a state-issued claim form, and you're supposed to fill out the top half of it and hand it back to your supervisor or human resources person, and then they are supposed to fill out the bottom half and give you back a copy. That all sounds very simple, and it should be, but in many cases it doesn't end up turning out like that. What happens is you get hurt on the job, and well, you think, maybe I'm going to get better, or this will pass. I will be okay tomorrow. So you go ahead and work through it. Next day, however, you find that you are feeling so badly that you can't even go to work, so you call in sick. And then you show up possibly another day or two later and you say to the employer, you remember last week I was doing this and this and I hurt myself doing that. And your employer is going to be possibly upset with you and say, why didn't you tell me then? And so the difficulties begin. This is why I urge you to report it right away so that the employer then has the obligation to provide you the claim form. You have the opportunity to fill it out and hand it back. There's some other tips about this. If you believe that you have an employer that's going to play games with you on this, you need to think at the time you were hurt if anyone was around that saw you get injured. Now, it's hard to see someone be injured unless you're talking about something very graphic. You can't really see if somebody hurt their back when they lifted something unless they grimace or say, ah, or whatever they say to demonstrate some injury. So, if that happens to you, you need to take note of who is around and who is likely to basically tell the truth about what happened or what they saw happen at a later time. You have to bear in mind that a co-employee is always going to be mindful of protecting himself with his employer and will be afraid to do anything that might be contrary to the employer's interest, at least in their perception. So you have to keep that in mind. So again, the safest route to take is always report the injury and look for that claim form. Now, to close on this, if you really don't need to go see a doctor and you really don't need any time off of work, it's okay. You know, you did what you're supposed to do. They didn't give you the claim form because under the law they really don't have to unless you need medical treatment that is beyond first aid. First aid is basically minor scuffs, cuts and scrapes. You might see a doctor once or twice, but that's it. In that circumstance, unless you need time off of work to recover from the injury, there's really no obligation on the part of the employer to give you that claim form. On the other hand, though, you might have an injury where you do only get first aid, but you do also take time off of work, and the doctor agrees eventually that you should have taken time off of work to recover. So that's another circumstance that would trigger the obligation of the employer to give you that claim form. If you don't have a claim form handed to you by your employer, whether it's a supervisor or a human resources person, contact a workers' compensation appeals board, district office, come to my office, come to any lawyer's office that does workers' compensation, and most of us have extra claim forms we can help you fill out. Have a good day. Bye-bye.